Hello, my name is Gavin McLeavy. I'm head coach at Okapi Wanderers here in sunny South Florida. I'm also a player agent, college recruiter. I put college kids into scholarships to play rugby, and I'm also a rugby TV analyst with a company called BN Sports. So I work for them as well. I met Kyoko, who I put this together quickly for her because she's going to some kind of a sales meeting over there in California with the asics folks. So she asked me to put something together quickly. So I promised I would, so I'm following through. I met her at one of my varsity games a few weeks back, and she wanted to see how asics could provide cleats for the rugby team. After a few back and forth emails and phone calls, we both discovered that basically there's no rugby cleats available from asics in the USA. It's kind of disappointing. So I want to say to you, firstly, I think maybe you're crazy. Just being honest. Rugby's the fastest growing sport in the United States, especially at the high school and college level, male and female. But it's one of the quickest growing sports in the country, and to not have rugby cleats available, I think is a mistake. Honestly, there's no reason for me to say otherwise, or I have no agenda. I don't know much about your company and what your growth is, whatever. But I know that if you've got rugby cleats, you need to be selling them in this country because it's the fastest growing sport in this country. Literally, you research it. Get your research and development department to take a look. Some of the stats off the top of my head, I think there was a study done between 2012 2014 where there was 400,000 registered rugby players in the USA, and over that 2 year period it actually went up to 440,000. 10% growth in 2 years. It's been going up 5 to 10% every year ever since. And that's me lowballing it. I believe it's a little higher because I was at a seminar not too long ago and they were talking about numbers slightly bigger than that. If you compare that number to New Zealand, we all know who the New Zealand All Blacks are. They have a player pool of 120,000 registered players. 120,000. In the USA, we have nearly 500,000. Now we're still amateur, and they're obviously pro on many levels. But the player pool here is bigger than New Zealand. You can sell more rugby cleats here than you can in New Zealand if you figure it out. So, and keep in mind, some of these numbers don't even include former players, and then the folks that sit on the sidelines and watch the game and then watch the game on TV. TV, you say, Gavin? Yes, it's on TV. Rugby's on TV now in the USA. I've been working for BN Sports for the last 3 years as their rugby analyst. They gave me a 15-minute segment once or even twice sometimes a week in their primetime news show. So 1 minute they were talking about Barcelona, Madrid, El Clasico, and then the next segment they're talking about rugby. So that's the kind of impact that is going on in the USA. That was the last 3 years. Prior to that, it was difficult. You didn't find much on TV. I used to use illegal streaming websites to watch rugby from Europe because there was no other option. Now the likes of NBC show the English First Division, just like what I was talking about with BN Sports. They're showing that every weekend, usually 2 games every weekend. They're also showing the college competition, the main college competition in the USA. They do that over a weekend for the sevens, and they get an average over that weekend of 1.23 million viewers on NBC just watching rugby. Soldier Field in Chicago was a success story. New Zealand All Blacks came over. They played against the USA. 62,000 people packed into a stadium in Chicago. Into an American football stadium, there was 62,000 rugby fans. So this is the trend, and this is what's happening. Me personally, I spend at least 6 hours a day in cleats. I burn through them. I probably get a new pair every 3 or 4 months, just because they fall to pieces on me because I'm constantly using them. It's South Florida, it's nice and sunny, but it rains a lot, so they're constantly getting wet, and I use them again the next day in the wet. So it's so I go through them. What do? I go to Ross or Marshalls and buy them for like 20, 30, 40 bucks, dirt cheap. But I don't buy rugby cleats. I have to buy soccer cleats because rugby's not an option, right? I just buy the cheapest ones I can find. And when I get new kids that come our training sessions, they turn up in American football cleats or even baseball cleats, the things with the razor blades. Yeah, literally, these people turn up with those things on, and they say, well, what do I do for rugby cleats? Because you can't play in football cleats because they have the front cleat, the front stud. That's illegal in rugby. Obviously, the razor blades in baseball are completely illegal. So I just send them a Ross because they probably can't afford much else, and at least they can get it that day or the next day. Kids that have got a bit more money and a bit more time on their hands and they're taking rugby seriously, I send them to World Rugby Shop. But I get 2 or 3 new kids every week. And that's what I do. Send them to Ross and Marshalls or online at World Rugby Shop. For their equipment and stuff like that, I work for a company called RIVE. They provide shirts, rugby jerseys, shorts, socks, that kind of stuff, baseball caps, anything that we can brand. We do that. So I send the kids there for the extra socks and shorts, etc. But again, that's another market that I think asics should probably be involved with. And kids are used to getting their equipment online now, even their cleats, their sneakers, cleats, all of that, they get online, and I'm sure that's a big part of your business. I attended the National Development Summit in Baltimore this year. 400 of the best and most enthusiastic rugby coaches in the USA. And the USA Rugby Organization were boasting to the fact that they are now taking away the focus from college and high school and actually beginning to try to filter more of their money and resources into youth development, and creating a bigger base, just like I'm doing here at Okapi. I started off a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, with 30 kids ranging from 10 to the age of 18. I now have 250 players in my rugby club. We're the biggest rugby club in Florida, and that growth has happened all across the country. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. Now, these younger people, they're going to become lifelong fans. I've got one kid, I think he's 17, he bought asics cleats recently, loves them, super comfortable, had to buy them from abroad, I guess, because they didn't have any in stock, and that's how Kyoko and I found out about this situation where there's nothing available here. So he's very happy with the cleats. He buys cleats all the time. He said that these are the most comfortable cleats he has come across recently, and he uses all the big brands, the Gilberts, the Rhinos, Canterbury, all of that. He's used all of those. So he's very happy with the asics cleats. And I think if you can get into the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, they're going to become lifelong fans, just like Coca-Cola does and McDonald's does. I don't need to teach you how to do marketing. I'm sure you've got a whole team of people that do that very well. But these people are going to become lifelong fans because that's now the focus with USA Rugby, as it is with me. And I'm recreating this with other clubs in other parts of the country that are calling me for help because I've had a certain amount of success. Now, many people told me a couple of years ago that rugby wouldn't work out in the USA. It's growing. I've established that. There's too many other sports was one of the reasons. There aren't enough commercial breaks in the game. Garbage. It's too violent. Now that is garbage. People in the USA love violence. This is the perfect game to grow here, and it's going to continue to grow. I remember it wasn't that long ago. The same people that telling me this, they were telling me that soccer wouldn't work in the USA. It wasn't that many years ago. People said soccer wouldn't work. I was in Orlando a few months back at a meeting for rugby, ironically, and the Orlando football team finished a game in the stadium there, 30, 40, 50,000 people, and I was at a bar with a friend, and we got swamped with Orlando soccer fans. You literally couldn't move in downtown Orlando for the amount of soccer fans. So yeah, 15 years ago, soccer was nothing here, and now look at the situation, and I believe rugby is going to go in the same direction. So I work with an equipment provider, RIVE. I mentioned them. I can quite happily put asics into that and help you guys develop through that way. I think there are many other options for you to be able to distribute rugby cleats, and then maybe other equipment too. But I'm available for you guys to consult with or whatever if you need help in the rugby world. I'm heavily involved with the Florida Rugby Union specifically, obviously, because we made a deal with RIVE where we're going to be providing the rugby ball, the official game day ball, for all of the teams in Florida, youth and adult, obviously the colleges as well. So I think I'm going to distribute 750 balls in the next month or so. So I'm in touch with all of the clubs within Florida, and then many more across the USA on different group chats, coaching, advice chats, that kind of thing. So we have a lot of access. There's a lot of things that aren't sort of well known. I'm sure I can guide you in the right direction. Feel free to hit me up. But in the meantime, guys, my opinion is, as a rugby coach, I'm 24/7 involved in this. You need to be providing rugby cleats, because you're missing out on the market if you don't. You will clean up if you get involved at the correct time, which is now, actually about 2 years ago. So let's get on it. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it. Need me, give me a buzz. Thank you, bye.